Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Jim. What's next? Roll call. Supervisor Crowner.
Here.
Trustee Benzel.
Here.
Trustee Hickey.
Here.
Trustee Jones.
Here.
Trustee Rodkiss. And Assessor Kern.
Here.
Highway Commissioner Tom Weiser.
Here.
Tax Collector David Scriven Young. Not here, but in his place. Thanks, Jim. Clerk Liskey, that's me here. Next up, public comments.
There is somebody else on. 885-2442, son. Whatever that is.
Is there any public comment? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the next item, which is approval of the board minutes from open session on November 10th of 2022. Could I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I move to approve the minute.
Thanks, Heather. Thanks, Nina. Any comments or questions or discussion? Then let's vote. Supervisor Crowner,
Yes.
Trustee Benzel,
Yes.
Trustee Hickey,
Yeah.
Trustee Jones.
Yes.
And Trustee Rodkiss is absent. So they pass. Old business, there is none. Moving on to new business. Discussion and approval of tax levy for truth and taxation law for the town fund. Could I have a motion to open
I
discussion?
moved to open that discussion.
Second.
Okay, so you all have a copy here. The request is for an increase of 4.9%. That does not even cover the increase in cost due to salaries and insurance, as well as the added cost for the assessor's office for the quadrennial. So just, I am putting in less than a maximum request. But we're in a strong kind of financial position right now, and so we can kind of weather it a little bit as hopefully prices start to improve in the coming year. So that's the request on there. And just so you know that these numbers on here, these aren't the full numbers and expenses for all of these items. This is just what portion of those line items will be defrayed by the cost, or by the income from property taxes. So like here, you'll see the assessor's office 375, and Chuck, you're going to be needing closer to 400.
Yeah.
I have that on the budget, but we also have other sources of revenue other than just the property taxes. So this is just what the property tax allocations will be towards the budget. Okay. Any questions on this? And thank you for getting me those numbers, Chuck. I've been able to start. We'll have a much earlier start to our budget process for this coming year.
So no questions, further
Let's
discussion.
get everybody involved. Ellie, Mary. Okay,
Moving on to vote. I have a motion to vote, to take a vote.
I think we can we'll just move on to a roll call vote since we got the.
Supervisor Crowner.
Yes.
Trustee Benzel.
Yes.
Trustee Hickey.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Yes.
And, tax levy for truth and taxation passes with a vote of 4 and 1 absent. Moving on, discussion approval of tax levy for truth and taxation law for the road district fund. Motion to open discussion.
I move to open that discussion for potential approval.
Second.
Same thing here. I put in 4.9%. That's what avoids us having to do all these extra hearings and so forth. And it should be able to cover Tom's added expenses. He has a much higher budget, so 4.9%. It's a lot more for him than it is for us. That should be sufficient. And if not, again, we've done a good job over the last year, especially of building up our reserves a little bit. So anything that's not covered, we'll be able to get in there. But I'm confident that we'll be able to come in under budget still.
Surprises.
Yes.
That's I'll find a report. Talk about it when I get to that.
Okay, not a problem. All right, any questions, comments, concerns? All right, let's move on to the roll call.
Moving on to vote, Supervisor Crowner.
Yes.
Trustee Benzel.
Yes.
Trustee Hickey.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Yes.
And trustee Ruckus absent, so the. Tax levy for the road district passes with a vote of 4. Okay, next up, discussion and approval of the 2023 PACE contract. Motion to open discussion.
I move to open that line item for discussion and approval.
Second.
All right, this is the same PACE contract that we are currently on. There were no changes, no need for negotiation this year. Very happy with how things have been over the last year. You guys will see compared to previous fiscal years, our PACE costs are extremely low. So just requesting that we renew the contract. The only change from last year is the amount of subsidy required from PACE, but otherwise it's pretty straightforward, all the same terms as what we're currently operating under. You'll see a cost estimate worksheet in the back end. That is just an estimate. It's not what our actual cost will be. It could come in lower, it could come in higher. It's all dependent on what the actual ridership looks like within our township, and it's pretty manageable. Just to give you an idea. I would anticipate next year our cost be no more than probably in the neighborhood of 25,000 to 30,000 per PACE. In past years, it climbed over 60. So our new contract has resulted in pretty substantial savings. And again, this is that same contract that we've been operating under for those savings. So any questions?
How much is the ridership gone up compared to the last year? Is it pretty much?
My understanding is the ridership has actually been pretty flat, maybe slight increase, but largely flat. Hasn't been too much of a change compared to the previous year. The savings is entirely due to the change in the cost structure model that we negotiated. Has nothing to do with a drop in ridership.
And the cost estimate worksheet, the revenue versus the expense, like why?
This is a subsidized program. So the purpose of the program is that we are subsidizing rides for seniors and individuals with intellectual disabilities. So you'll see, yeah, so their revenue's low, but as you can see on there, there are like countless, but there's a ton of grant money that's associated with it. And that's why if you look towards the bottom where you see the townships that are listed, Lyle Township, Naperville Township, and Wheatland Township, the cost, our expense compared to the overall expense is pretty minimal. The whole program, as you can see, across the 3 townships and the city of Naperville costs millions of dollars, and our combined share is just a fraction of that. So yeah, the idea isn't that this isn't your traditional like taxi cab service. This is subsidized, right, by the townships as well as those grants. And we also got to remember public transportation isn't a for-profit business. It's meant to be run for the benefit of your constituents. So.
And these vehicle hour 7,000 strand is like we're calculating like here once year, like approximately that much the hours the each ride is working.
I believe so. Those last light items, yeah, those are relating to the trips and how much time we spend on these
In a
trips.
year.
I have a quick question. On the service area, it says, Uber will be available for trips specified within DuPage County only.
Mhm.
And then it says, Ride DuPage Uber access area includes all of the DuPage County, all of Wheatland Township,
Yeah.
and all of Naperville.
Mhm.
So
If we offered that service, that's,
we are,
yeah, well, we have I think just a couple people on it right now. And that's why
they've been denied because
because of
GFJ
ridership outside
yeah.
the area.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, and it sounds like there was another one today, so I'm just curious. How can both be true?
What do you mean?
Well, it says that it's available for trips specified within DuPage County only, and then it also says that it includes Wheatland Township.
Yeah, well, that's because they just wrote in that exception. on
Okay,
their
all right.
forms.
I just
That
wanna
was
make
something
sure.
that came in after the fact.
Okay.
I think
It's an
actually,
addendum,
I'm sorry.
it's an addendum, Wheatland is listed in there as an addendum.
No, they actually, I just don't think that they necessarily updated their language
Okay.
when they added our line item, because last year, the original contract did not say Wheatland Township, but we said, we mentioned that to them. And then that's why they added the Wheatland
The
Township.
map is right.
The map is right,
Okay,
yes, so it's
right.
just, the language is a little funky,
Okay, just want
So
to make
to
sure.
confirm, it does include Wheatland.
correct. We are, our portion and the Naperville portion of DuPage Township are the only parts that have eligibility under the Right DuPage grant program for Uber.
Other questions?
Not knowing the background of this program, still it doesn't guarantee that some clerk that doesn't understand it isn't gonna deny it. I mean, that, you know, we all know, we've talked to Jim Leahy and all sorts of people at Right DuPage. We've talked to the people that have the Uber program, and it does say Wheatland Township, but somebody may come along and does, you know, well, that's not in DuPage County, and you know, a new person or something, it's a real easy error.
Yeah, so we'll have to talk to them, but make sure they include our zip codes. And that's probably the work.
Yeah, unfortunately, that could leave, you know, Mrs. Jones hanging.
We put a draft email and make sure that they.
Other comments, questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to roll call. Supervisor Crowner.
Yes,
Trustee Bansal.
Yes,
Trustee Hickey.
Yeah,
Trustee Jones.
yes,
Trustee Radkus is absent, so. The pay the contract passes with a vote of 4 and 1 absentee. Approval of bills and claims. Could I have a motion to open discussion and approval?
I make a motion.
Thank you,
I'll second.
thank you. Comments or questions? Okay, moving on to the vote then. Supervisor Crowner.
yes,
Trustee Bansal.
Yes.
Trustee Hickey.
Yes,
Trustee Jones.
yes,
Trustee Rackets is absent, so again, bills and claims pass with a vote of 4 and 1 absentee. Moving on to reports, Assessor Kern.
Yes, we'll be having our annual meeting, assessors meeting down in Joliet with the new supervisor of assessments who was just hired down there, getting our marching orders for the upcoming year. So that's going to be on the 19th. And I'll be also working on the budget for the next meeting, which I'm statutorily required to provide to you in January. So I'll be giving that to you, and I'm already started working a little bit with Jerry to see what we're going to be doing with him for the upcoming year. So I think that's pretty much it. Any questions? Okay,
thanks, Chuck.
thank you.
Highway Commissioner Tom Weiser.
There'll be something, two things I want to, one is it's kind of little surprise invoice from Illinois Department of Transportation. That's 4.5 years old. So back in 2017, late 2016. Bill, and there was a contract that we signed off on because we own part of the intersection 130th and Hags, and they put a new light on there. And so it's a legitimate contract. The original estimates of the cost were around $15,000. Found out after we got this invoice this past week that it was for $5,700. And when I called them and said, hey, what's up? This is a 3.5-year-old, 4-year-old invoice. Why is this late? Well, you didn't pay the first invoice either. So there was a $4,600 invoice. We actually sent IDOT a check back in September of 2017 that they never cashed. I've been carrying along on our books ever since. So, yeah. So, thought about it, talked to Ed Mullen, well, I reached out to a couple of people, do I want to get into a fist fight with IDOT about some really late invoices? Even though there is a signed contract that we agreed that we pay, we would pay for this. So, we're signing off on it and we're gonna pay the entire bill the next month's invoices, so. So if you see that and look at this, you go, what the heck? I know Kevin and Carolyn were kind of pushing back and saying, hey, we should fight this, but, it's a signed contract, it's something we agreed to do. It's been a carry forward, from 2017. And I talked to our accountant and it's, it's a legitimate invoice that had to be paid.
What did the accountant say about why it was missed?
Partly COVID. So the position that she held was not filled for like almost 4 years. So literally, she got hired in and they gave her boxes of old invoices to follow
The
up on.
lady at IDA?
What about from our
Well,
side?
yeah, how does our sheet balance?
It's in our sheets. The check is, it's got a special term on it, but it's been carried forward ever since then. It's like an uncashed check liability. It was canceled. The check has been canceled, and now it's going to be reissued in next month's bills. So
Do we have other uncashed check liabilities floating around?
that's a great question. I'm gonna say I do not know. I didn't ask that question. But I had some very, very lengthy conversations with several people at IDOT. They were very apologetic about the situation. At the same time, I've got this signed, approved contract from 2003 that we agreed that we'd pay for it. It is our, not all, the part of our intersection. So I wasn't quite sure if we were gonna, again, the idea is, do we litigate this for approximately $10,000 in court, or do we just go ahead and pay it? So made a decision to go ahead and pay it.
Sounds reasonable if we.
Yes.
They did the work.
Yeah.
We agreed to pay.
I would bet you, if they're owed money, they're gonna get the money somehow.
Yes, yes, I talked to a couple other people and I was told that we're in a kind of a weak position, so it'd be something that we just go ahead and pay and get taken care of. All right, okay. One of the things is I also I'll just come out and say I'm sorry. I know, was it last board meeting or 2 board meetings? We talked about insurance. We had Carrie here and the insurance was going to increase by $5,700 to insure our bridges, which were reevaluated at I think $2.3 million. Immediately after that meeting, I got a ton of feedback from Aurora, Plainfield, Naperville. Essentially, Torma only insures bridges for about $50,000. And for the most part, a lot of the other townships really don't even insure in the same way that Gary was suggesting insure it, which is like full replacement value. Will County has an insurance policy. So once you get above $50,000, they'll step in if it's a natural disaster, something like that, and pay for it. So made a decision to tell Gary Insurance that we are not going to pay that. So it's going to help us save $5,700. So sorry
So from
about
insurance to IDOT.
yeah. So
Yeah,
my savings
right.
went right to so
I'm just backing up so I have this right. Where was that light at that you said 130th and Walnut?
thanks.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, no, 30 and 119th Street.
30. Sorry. Okay, thanks.
I forgot something in my report.
Yep.
He just prompted me here because with the surprise invoices. Caroline and I uncovered the fact that we hadn't been getting any invoices from Jerry for several months.
Mhm.
And we just uncovered that this week. So, we hadn't received anything since, usually bills us at least once a month.
Oh, for the assessor side.
Yeah, for this.
Okay, I know I've seen bills from.
For this
Okay.
exercise, usually bills us
Yeah,
at least once a month, depending
Sure.
on what's going on. So we hadn't received anything since September first. So we uncovered that, we contacted Jerry. And he got it all caught up. We asked him what happened. He said he had some glitch and they were going to the wrong email address or something, but they never came here. So anyway, we have a stack of invoices that we're getting from Jerry that's, so we have them, they'll be appearing on next month's bills, and it's to the tune of about $8,800. So I just wanted to call that to everybody's attention. And we're back on track, and he's now for December, he's properly invoiced us, so I think we've got that settled, so just a FYI.
So do those come out of next year's budget or?
No, that would be,
Budget?
no, it's all this year, it's all this year, but it's just a lot, it'll just appear as a lot more than it typically does in the one.
our fiscal year goes through
And then,
until April.
to help with, I talked it over with Mark. What we're gonna do is we'll take those funds out of contingency
Mhm.
so that the road budget doesn't look like, hey, there's this $10,000
Right.
spike. And it allows for better planning moving forward.
Okay.
So,
And by the way, you'll notice on this month's bills, we have nothing from Jerry in this month. It's JRM is how it's. Anyway. That's what happened.
Just the general. General. town hall.
Anything else, Tom?
no man.
Okay, great. Moving on, trustee Gonzal.
Yes, we had our senior lunch November 16th, and 17 seniors attended that lunch. The food we ordered from Caputo's Market, and it was an Italian meal. We were just trying to celebrate the Thanksgiving dinner. Actually, it was supposed to be the turkey dinner. But then turkey, there was some bird flu happened, and then turkey, it's quite expensive and was difficult, so we moved to the Italian dinner. But they all had a good time. The food we paid about $190, plus some iced teas for some iced teas and some other stuff. The coffee was thank you to the Wheatland Church. It was a courtesy coffee from them, so we served the coffee to everyone, and they didn't charge anything from us. We had a speaker on Medicare. That was the senior wanted to talk about the Medicare topics, and I believe they all had a good time, and they really had so many answers to the questions they had of Medicare. And he was from state of Illinois Department of Aging Senior Health Insurance Program. Yeah, and this month we didn't have our senior meeting, as we were all set for our holiday lunch next week. So it was unanimously got cancelled. And we are all set for the next lunch, which is a holiday lunch advice.
Wait, I'm sorry, it was canceled. What was canceled?
Oh, the senior meeting, like.
Senior meeting. I
every,
misunderstood.
Wednesday.
Got you, got you, got you,
Yeah.
got you. Okay,
So our next lunch is on December 14. Advice, which is a holiday lunch. And the food, we have approximately 25 people. So far, we have 21 RSVPs. And estimated amount would be 623.72. It depends if someone orders some different averages. So we will have our final invoice after. Thank you.
gotcha. Okay, thank you, thank you. Trustee Hickey.
We are continuing with the STEPS program. We had one of the students here today. They have moved up towards 88, so their campus, the commute is quite a bit more than what it was. So we're going to be flexible going forward with times. We will continue to do the documents as long as we need to. But if there are other ideas for projects for them for long term, I'm happy to hear. They've been very capable at what we've asked them to do so far. And then with regard to PACE, we are having a little bit of trouble with this Uber supplemental program that they're doing, which is that because we're in Will County, they're not willing to let our riders take a ride out, you know, if they need to go someplace that is not into DuPage County. So basically, the geofencing for Uber keeps us to all of DuPage and then Wheatland, and that's it. So the PACE program still services our riders to go wherever they need to go. And that is, I think, our bigger ridership is the people that are using it to go to dialysis and things like that. So they actually maybe have some mobility issues and need a lift. And that's obviously a service that Uber doesn't provide, but we do have a few, and it's been frustrating trying to get these things resolved with PACE, but they're doing their best and we are too. That's what I got.
Any more comments, questions? Okay, thanks, Kelly. Trustee Jones.
Nothing up there.
Trustee Rackus is not here. I am Clerk Bliskey. We continue to go back and forth on resolving one FOIA, which I'm hoping we'll put to bed, shortly. We're close. And I am happy to say that I talked to Jerry this week. He's going to set up share files for us over the next few weeks. And then I'm actually going to talk to you, but we'll schedule training for folks who will have access to them. Should any of you guys want to use them, you can come participate on that training, but more to come. I'm super excited because it'll just be easier to store documents, and then those who need them will have hopefully easier access to them should they need them electronically. And that's all I have. Questions, comments? As I said earlier, I'm turning into CIO, so Jerry needs to watch out. Tax collector cemetery, not David Scrivener. Mr. Hoffman.
Jim Hoffman sitting in for DSY tonight, and he did give me permission to tell you what is really going on in the cemetery, so I'm gonna share those
Great.
with you tonight. Kind of a quiet month in the cemetery. We had one interment, 3 grave sales. Dave usually handles the grave sale. He does a great job with that. Formerly, that was something that just was catch as catch can, and Dave has really been focused on that, and that's very helpful to us as trustees and volunteers. We had the one casket burial, and although it's been quiet in the cemetery, this is our busy volunteer time. So today, I was off today from in the assessor's office. So Mr. Graham and I were out in the cemetery for a couple hours, winterizing the cemetery grounds, which basically means putting stakes at the corner of each lot of 8 graves, so that in case we get a foot of snow, that we're able to determine where the grave lots are and measure them out so that we put people in the proper places. We do that every winter. Mr. Graham is instrumental with that. He's been doing it for decades, and I help him. And we did some cleanup out there as well. Today, we're leaving a lot of decorations out there because it's obviously a couple weeks before Christmas, and then we'll do another quick cleanup right after the first of the year. Interestingly, the main cleanup that we did in October, we picked up some things and we have them in the back office in a box. Kelly, you've probably seen them, and we have not had one call from people from the families who said, where are my decorations? Why did you take my decorations? So that's good. We are going to keep them for 90 days just in case people come by and think they're missing something, trinkets or whatever. So everything is going pretty well out there. Dave's doing a great job, and we've got it kind of finally to. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Carter.
The only thing really got going right now is because I started looking at levy, started looking at budget. So as I would encourage you all to start thinking about budget requests for next year as well. If there's anything that you would like to see included, or any sort of initiatives that you want us to find a way to fund, let me know so that we can make sure we're taking that into account. But other than that, I'll hand it actually over to Bill to kind of give us a report on what he's working on for the office.
Obviously you can see our owl, I have it down as the owl has landed, we're on video and whatever, owl records, it records our meetings. Can be used to clerk for minutes, but kind of double check what, if you missed something or whatever, she can always go back. You can also post the videos on our website, so somebody can actually look them up themselves. We did purchase this, it is actually technically a refurbished machine. But it obviously appears this thing's never been out of the box. Somebody probably returned it and maybe sliced it open or whatever. So we saved $300 on that. I had sent some things to Michael just as far as policies and procedures. Just a place where you can look up kind of a database and things, but over that Rick Trulis had done it. Atlanta Township, obviously Rick was the supervisor, but he's also an attorney, and he's one of was one of the best attorneys in the state as far as township government went. So some of those things are pretty good over there. These assessors department did a great job on the east side of the Christmas stuff. Just wanted to say that looks nice. Lobby's looking for the holidays. There's Christmas tree out there. We have Toys for Tots. There's there are some toys in there. I don't think we have anything in the food drive box yet, so I'm gonna bring in at least some canned goods and stuff like that and put it in there, but.
I have a whole box for my neighborhood that I meant to bring in today,
What
so.
are the deadlines for both of those?
I don't have those,
Okay.
but we could find out. Also today, our defibrillator showed up. So that's already been installed. As soon as you walk in the door, it's over on the right. If you pull the door open right now, the alarm will go off, but you can do it because as soon as you shut it, the alarm goes off. But if you wanted to see inside and see how easy it is to actually grab it out of there and just see what it's all about. The battery in it will last up to 2 years, they say, but they want to inspect it yearly. We got that.
So what are we gonna be doing with that?
Hopefully nothing ever. But it is designed to save somebody's life, and you only get one opportunity. When you do pull that defibrillator out to help, when you open it, it starts talking to you. It tells you exactly what to do.
So you mean even somebody like me could do it?
Yeah, even somebody like.
So we're telling, no training is needed or?
That's the next part of it, which
Oh,
we
sorry.
actually just get.
Sorry.
It's okay. Michael and I got the information at the same time. It just finally came in. The Naperville Fire Department's kind of been dragging their feet a little bit on it, but they've offered the morning of December 17th. Which would need to be here at 9 o'clock in the morning is what they're looking for.
Like a Saturday?
No, it's a week. No,
Tuesday.
it's a Tuesday. Yeah, and it would be at 9 o'clock, and it would be in here. It's about an hour.
17th is Saturday.
Oh, wait,
Maybe it's
I
thought January.
January 17th, sorry, so January 17th, my bad.
Yeah.
January 17th, all three departments should be there. It's gonna last about an hour if we can. Obviously, if the guys are out plowing, they have to be out plowing. But
So that's firm, you said? January firm?
Yeah,
Itself,
yeah, we gotta tell them
17th of
tomorrow.
May.
Yeah. But they had suggested, yeah, what am I thinking, December? That's where we're at now. Sorry. So they will be out, to teach us here. They originally wanted us to go all the way over to Safety Village. That's kind of have to rent a bus. We have to call Pace and Uber. It is.
It'd be fine with Uber.
Yeah, it is.
wait.
More conversations as we know with ARPA.
So I'm sorry, who's the training for? Just
Training is for everybody,
Everyone.
everybody that works here, plus any of the trustees or any of the elected officials that want to be part of it. It is not the full blown CPR course that's 3 or 4 hours long. It's going to be an hour, and it's going to ultimately be designed on exactly what to do if somebody is down. The defibrillator is extremely easy. My wife's a cardiac nurse, and so she had a little bit of input on exactly what unit to get, and it actually was one of the lesser expensive ones of the entire program. Like she said, all these things that are, a couple $1,000, they don't do anything different than this one, and this one The only upgrade that we have on there, other than the little metal cabinet that came with it, is the fact that it provides its own shock. You don't have to sit there and have to press the button. And according to my wife, there's a lot of people that are just scared to press that button, even though the machine's saying, press the button, now. And they just, it's, Frankenstein electrodes coming out or whatever, gonna be a problem. So people won't do it. So
So Bill, the CPR is it's not that you'll be certified at the end of it, you will just have been through the instruction, right?
Correct.
Okay.
you can go and throw it on your resume.
I mean, good.
I was at Playfield. Main office today for a meeting, and I noticed in the hallways, they have people there too, so. I can imagine everyone probably has one, I see them at the mall.
So the different programs with ARPA, they're still in the process, and we're filling out, we finally kind of gotten over the hump a little bit, and we're in the process of filling out forms again. I'm gonna go over this, Michael, at some point, and might need his assistance a little bit on a couple of things, but as a lot of this stuff all started prior to me being here, and there's still an issue of our two SAM.gov accounts, and they're kind of screwed up.
Yeah, and just for reference on what that is, you have to have basically an ID linked to your entity from the federal government in order to receive the federal government funds. However, there's an issue where we had a number, but then it got transferred to the road district, but then we're trying to get access back. It should not have been transferred. So that's, as you can imagine, dealing with.
And the road district has two, and they're only
Yeah.
allowed to have one.
Yeah, so we're dealing with all of that.
Now we talked about this a couple times.
Mhm.
Before the previous deadline for the ARPA stuff, I submitted actually 3 projects.
The infrastructure ones.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm curious, the way you worded it, it sounds like, do we have to because that's the second time I've actually submitted something. There was like first it was just recommendations, and then there was a
Formal application.
yeah.
So the initial one was just to see what basically the appetite in the market was
Yeah.
among the road districts for infrastructure spending. Then the second one was the formal request. And then we should probably follow up to see what the result is, because this ARPA is specifically for the 180,000 that we were allocated by the county, and some of it's coming to you as well, so we'll talk about making sure that's included in your budget, but that's separate from your infrastructure,
To
yes.
be clear, is there some action that I need to do to like?
They should be reaching
refresh?
out, so they reach out to you whenever there's an action item required. So for us, the issue was, we couldn't give them a SAM.gov ID number because we were trying to resolve it. So they've been working with Bill to try and get that taken care of.
And Kristen and Anna, the two girls that are working on this, and they are really, I can tell just how much they're doing, because I know they've been calling, they're a little frustrated, but they believe when they get the two sorted out and get it all figured out, then everything should just flow. Everything shouldn't be an issue. We shouldn't have, or extremely minimal amount.
I will jump through hoops to try to fill out the right paperwork, so.
And just do y'all, this is an example of something that we got from, that we will be submitting for reimbursement from our, to help kind of make sure that people have access to the information here without having to be here, especially when there's things going around.
Fire extinguishers are all back on the walls. They've all been installed, and they're back on the walls, so no, they're not on anybody's desk anymore. So they were actually under people's desks and off on the side. And when we had Jeff Bassador in from ICRMT, who's along with Diamond Brothers and safety officer. So he came in, he basically showed me, you need one here, you need one here, you need one here. He pointed out one in this back room back here, this where your safe is and things like that. And you kind of almost think, well, why it kind of putting one back there is kind of, nobody's going to notice it. He pointed out that if someone's in that back room and there's a fire right here, they're not getting out. So there has to be a fire extinguisher in there so the people that were in there could get out. So there's got to be a path of them. He was simple. You can have a little, $10 one from Kidda from Walmart and just stick it on the wall and so, but it's just enough to get them out, so. And when you stand there, you should be able to look down the hallway and see. Fire extinguishers, that was a learning experience for me, I didn't, never really gave it that much thought, but then when you think about it, that. Your group could be here on a Thursday and there'd be a fire in the hallway, and if there's no fire extinguisher, you're not getting out of there.
No window to jump out of.
Windows, you can't go the other way and that kind of thing.
No, looking around this room, but okay.
There's one right on the other side of the wall there.
Out of my
There's
sight,
the
gotcha.
biggest one, the
Feel
biggest
better.
one. And you can actually get out the door here, so,
Okay.
and I believe they're right outside the doorway into the garage, or even in the garage. The last one, actually, Assessor Kern brought this up, he kind of mentioned something about investing money or whatever, and then things like that, and then out of the blue, I don't, maybe you mailed it to me, I don't know, but like 2 days later, there was a card in my mail about what I thought was Citibank, but it's just CIT Bank. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah.
But have you? They have and these are just ideas, but they have a bank rate of a CD for 13 months at 4.35%. For a 13-month CD. Township did this every 4 years. They did, it was just basically they would have 2 CDs at $230,000 a piece. I'm not saying they do that because they had the money, but ultimately it was the last $500,000 that the township would never touch, so why not invest it? And the way they had staggered it is one board would buy the CD and it didn't mature until the next board took over, so they could never be able to touch that basically. And then as those would expire, they wind up buying a vehicle, a truck or something like that for the food pantry or whatever, and then just immediately reinvest the money. On this, I know we're far from that, but this is just a 13-month CD of money that you're not going to touch. It's so that, you know, you could put some effort into that. We can look into that if it's available. I don't know if it is, but it's the last bit of money. And you have a policy, and I can provide that to Supervisor Crowner about an investment policy that you would have to do that. But it probably isn't necessarily a bad idea. Investing money into a CD in a bank, if something were, I mean, obviously, the entire fiduciary market, and point nuts, but that's not going to happen either. But if for some reason you absolutely had to get the money, you could always cash in the CD early. I mean, it's there, so there's little to no risk, and you put it in there, and 13 months later, you're 4.35% richer. You have money you weren't going to touch it. All I got.
Thank you, Bill.
Questions for me?
And rates are going up, so good time for savings.
Isn't it interesting that some governmental bodies are restricted and they can only invest in the safest things such as CDs and that? And other governmental bodies can do whatever they want. They can invest in the most high risk stuff and lose huge amounts of money, which happens all the time. Very interesting. Like the state of Illinois, for example, they do stuff like that, or other states.
Well,
Other states do.
those are primarily like pension funds,
Pension
right?
funds.
Because their objective is growth, whereas our objective is for a local municipality, your objective isn't growth. So that's why preservation of funds is actually like one of the key priorities that they outline in the municipal code. And then basically we're just trying to keep up with inflation, right? So that's really the objective for your local municipality. But the pension funds have to grow because of the function of the way that pensions work. So
Ontario was invested in crypto. They're not doing so well right now.
a lot of
Oh.
pensions
I think
were invested in VCs that were invested
I
in
think
ETFs.
CalPERS was in crypto.
They're in everything.
Anyway.
CalPERS, yeah. All right, yeah, I thank you, Bill.
Thank
That's
you.
all.
Any comments or questions for Bill? Okay, I think it looks like we could be done. Okay, could I have a motion to adjourn, please?
Motion.
Second.
Yeah, and thank you, and we're adjourning at
14, 8:50.
Thanks, everybody.
Hey, Tom,
Thank you.
Thank you.
can we come sign your levy sheet, please?
Yeah.
For that, get through the file.
No.